1880, a traveling photographer arrived in Fort Sumner, New Mexico. Dusty and bedraggled, the kid decided to pose for a 25-cent tintype.
What was it like holding the only photo, the only known photo of Billy the Kid in my hand? Because in 2010, the photograph went up for auction, and Brian LaBelle, who ran the auction at the Denver Mart in Denver, he brought it out to the True West World headquarters in Cave Creek, and I actually got to hold it. It's like the size of a credit card. I'm not one of those guys. I'm not the cosmic cowboy. I'm not the guy who goes like, "Oh, I can see," But I felt like you could see down in it. I felt the presence of the kid. I felt it was very, very heavy. Being able to actually look at that. And then I was there in Denver when it was auctioned. And I asked Brian LaBelle, I said, what do you think the photo's going to go for? And he said, we're thinking about $400,000. I think the biggest photo probably was 30 grand, maybe 100 grand had been the record. Jesse James, those kind of things.
The matter of its going into collectorship and therefore out of sight of us for the rest of its existence is to me is very sad. I'd like an awful lot of people to be able to see it because it's magic.
Now what's interesting is that when the kid was in jail in Santa Fe, New Mexico, after Pat Garrett captured him at Stinking Spring and brought him to Santa Fe, the reporter's in there talking to the kid, and he says, "Hey, you're getting kind of famous. What do you think?" And the kid says a really curious thing. He says, "There's no money in it." And that's just so ironic to me because he paid $25 for that photo, all right? He needed to hang on to it a little longer. But those kind of things just fascinate me so much. The little details of there's no money in it. That's ridiculous.
Well, probably the single most important thing to come out was in 1986 when they discovered the photo, the tintype of the kid. Because up until that, all we had was a lot of retouched old bad photos. And but when that came out, you could finally see his actual face and what he really looked like, at least to some extent. Because the problem being with the only known photo of the kid is that people who knew him said it was a terrible picture of him. So he's basically being remembered by his driver's license photo.
That picture was taken, they doctored it. Okay, they tried to repair it from the get-go. And it was badly done, it was botched. And so what you saw, instead of this smart little Irish kid, you saw a moron. And so America only heard of this dirty little Billy killer, and there's his picture. Look, he's a moron. Well, nothing was farther from the truth.
279. Here's the piece that everybody's been talking about a lot this past year. This is Billy the Kid and the tintype. Everybody in this audience is going to see and be a part of American history tonight. Hit 500,000, that'll get 500. Now 5 to me. Hit 550,000, 600,000. I am now 650,000. That's now 650,000. I'm now 750. 750,000. 750,000. Now 800,000. 800. Now 900,000. Now $1 million. 1 million 1. 1 million 2. No, you're out, Tom. Got $1 million 2. $1 million 2. Got $1,200,000. $1 million 2. I got $1 million 1. Got $1 million 2. $1 million 3. $1 million 4. $1 million 4. $1,750,000. The lowest I'm gonna go. 1819, 1819. Now 2 million. Now 2 million. 2 million 1. Got to be 2 million 1. 2 million 1. 2 million 2 million 1. And I sold it. 2 million.
Was appalled by the fact that it sold for $2.5 million, because it, as you probably know, and if you don't, it's easy enough to explain, everybody who finds a picture that looks remotely like him immediately runs to the press or to anybody who'll listen and say, hey, look, I got a picture of Billy the Kid.
Well, once that happened, then everybody was finding photographs. We would get them, I swear, like one a week. So anyway, there's been a lot of photos. In fact, probably the most famous photo is the so-called croquet photo. And I just got a letter today, an email, castigating us for Mark Boardman specifically, who did the article, about how stupid we are that we don't realize that that's really him. And I loved Mark Boardman's response, which is, well, then tell him to go buy it. It's for sale for $5 million. Go buy it. So far, nobody has bought it.
He can identify with you, and you can identify with him if you've ever had a tough time in your life. Because the tough times that he went through were pretty serious. And you can look at them and say, well, I guess if he can get through that kind of shooting up, I can get through this. Looking around it the other way, he's a very unlikely hero. He isn't particularly good looking, although everybody said he was very charming and very easy to get along with. But he was just another guy from nowhere, and still to this day is a man from nowhere. We don't know where he came from. We don't know how he got that self-confidence and poise that he clearly had, and he obviously didn't have any fear whatsoever, because he walked straight into the biggest gunfights that ever happened in these parts.
The newspaper reporters are allowed in, and they get to talk to the kid. And as he's talking to the reporters, the kid says, you know, this is good. Maybe people will think I'm half human now, because they haven't thought I was human before. They've considered me an animal. Maybe now they'll think I'm half human.
He did look human indeed, one reporter wrote. There was nothing very mannish about him in his appearance, for he looked and acted like a schoolboy, with the traditional silky fuzz on his upper lip and clear blue eyes with a roguish snap about them.
This is a picture of the last stand note found in 1952, believed to possibly have been written by Billy. It said, "This is our last shell. There are about 10 Indians left. Our chances look slim, but we're going to take a chance. W.M. Bonney." And it sold for $3,000 or a little more. There's a lot of people who believe it's real, and there's others who just think it's too good to be true. I personally think there's a good possibility that it's real. The writing matches up with his writing, his known writing. So I thought I'd add that.